Fantasy football breakdown of the fourth pick overall in these mock drafts and my strategies and how my team came out. So to start, Justin Jefferson I took fourth overall in this fantasy draft. So it's definitely close to me between him and Jahmyr Gibbs. I know J.J. McCarthy, first year's quarterback, but last season not many people thought Jefferson would have the big season like he did with Sam Darnold at quarterback, but he still went out there, he put up numbers. And in my opinion, overall, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, 1A, 1B, wide receivers in all pro football. So Jefferson, I think, a no-brainer in the fourth pick overall. Then in the second round, Ladd McConkey. I got McConkey, a great rookie season last year, over 1,100 yards, including in that playoff game. He had a nice 80-yard plus touchdown. Number one wide receiver over there for the Los Angeles Chargers. They didn't do much, obviously, in the offseason, bringing in another wide out. And Ladd McConkey, he's going late second, early third in most fantasy drafts, and he's a PPR machine where I think there's potential where he could catch anywhere from a 90 to 100 passes this season. Is Ladd McConkey, as him and Justin Herbert work on rapport entering his second season. Then third round, I went three wide receivers to start. Tough to pass up on Tyreek Hill as your third wide receiver / flex option. And I've taken Tyreek Hill a lot so far in these early mocks. I've taken with the first, second, third. It doesn't matter if Tyreek Hill's there in the third round. I'm going to go out there and get him most likely 90% of the time. Tyreek Hill, I know it was a down year last year, failed to reach 1,000 yards with the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, the injury to Tua and some off-field issues didn't help as well for Tyreek Hill, but obviously he's a player that could go out there electric and be a top 10 option year in and year out. And then after that, I attacked the running back position after I got the three stud wide receivers to start my draft. Alvin Kamara, it was good to see him there in the fourth round. I know this ain't offense, it's not going to be much, especially with Derek Carr retiring with the injury problems in the offseason. But Kamara, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We've seen him go out there where he could be a guy that could get 1,500 yards total, and he could catch 60, 70 passes easily out of the backfield. So like I said, the backfield definitely is a weakness for my fantasy team, but with the three wide receivers I got to start the draft and to get to Kamara and then Montgomery in the fifth round. We know David Montgomery is still going to get decent work. We know he's going to be the goal line back more times than not, and he's in a high-powered offense, even with offensive coordinator Ben Johnson leaving and taking the head coaching job, the Chicago Bears. I believe this offense is going to be fine, and they could put up numbers, and David Montgomery's been a solid number two running back over the last few seasons since he signed on with the Detroit Lions. And sixth round, I got good backup and insurance in Joe Mixon. I know Mixon's banged up. He's going to miss the majority of training camp, but reports are coming out Mixon, he's going to be ready. Mixon last year in the first half of the year was good. Then he was banged up, missed a few games with the ankle injury. But like I said, Joe Mixon, he's a gamer. He could catch the football out of the backfield. He could break, running between the tackles still. I know there's some competition a little bit. Dameon Pierce, they brought in Nick Chubb coming off another ACL this offseason. But I believe Joe Mixon will be fine. And to get him in the sixth round is a good value. Seventh round, I went back to the receiver well once again. Rome Odunze, I'm big on him coming into the season, entering his second year with the Bears. Keenan Allen, he's gone where they didn't bring him back in free agency. And surprisingly, no team signed Keenan Allen. So Odunze, the number two wide receiver, we saw a few flash games out of him last season. Now in an offense where head coach Ben Johnson now, obviously, who ran that high-powered Lion offense for a few seasons as the coordinator. This is going to be an offensive team, and I could see Odunze have a big season in his second year. And obviously, he was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft last season with Caleb Williams. And then eighth round, Justin Fields. I like Fields a lot. I've taken him a couple times as well in some of these mocks in the early going. I know he's on the New York Jets. We know this Jet team, they've had offensive struggles a lot over the last few seasons. But Fields, with his running ability, and we've seen him rush for 1,000 yards already in his young NFL career. We know he's bounced around the last few years. Bears, Pittsburgh Steelers, where they held him back until Russell Wilson came back last season. But the Jets, they gave him a pretty nice deal, 2 years, $40 million. And he's got Garrett Wilson, he's got Breece Hall out of the backfield. But obviously the value is running the football, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if Fields gets anywhere from 600-700 yards rushing this season. Then ninth round, Jerry Jeudy, the number one wide receiver over there for the Cleveland Browns. And we saw some big ball games. Obviously, it was Jameis Winston last season at the quarterback position, where he's a gunslinger for good and bad, obviously. With Jeudy, he looked comfortable in Cleveland. He got a nice contract extension as well. And to have Jeudy as my fifth wide receiver, I think that's good depth. going into the season. Then 10th round, I finally got my tight end in Jake Ferguson. He was banged up a majority of the season. I know he's the third option in the passing game behind CeeDee Lamb, behind George Pickens, who the Cowboys traded for this offseason. But they like Ferguson a lot, and he got a contract extension as well a couple weeks ago. So I think Ferguson as a tight end, to get him in the 10th round where he is upside for 50, 60 catches and anywhere, I would say, from maybe 4 to 7 touchdowns. I still think it's good value. 11th round, took Jerome Ford. I think Jerome Ford, he could have a decent season. He's going to be the starter, in my opinion, going in. And so far, I've taken him a lot as well going into these mock drafts, is Jerome Ford. Hey, to get someone with starter potential and who's put up some decent numbers over the last few seasons, to get him as your 4th, 5th running back, I think it's solid. Then 12th round, Isaac Orendo. He's going to be the handcuff for Christian McCaffrey. And we know McCaffrey, he's had injury concerns throughout his career, especially last season. He was out majority of the year, but he's healthy in training camp. He got stem cell treatment, which obviously is the new way for a lot of people to heal quicker and obviously avoid other injuries. But Orendo, in the few games we saw him, he looked pretty well for this 49er team. And now with Jordan Mason traded away to the Minnesota Vikings, he's the clear backup, in my opinion, is Orendo, and I like him a lot over there, Shanahan and the coaching staff. And to close out the draft, I took another Chicago Bear wide receiver, Luther Burden, the third Burden. He was great in college. This Bear team, obviously, they let Keenan Allen walk in free agency, and they had the youngster in Burden, who has good upside. And to obviously get him as my last position player, where in these mocks, I get kicker and defense last, but obviously I'm not going to list it. You just pick any of the defenses and kickers and hope they pan out. So Burden, like I said, he has big playability. He's in a young offense, and obviously Ben Johnson, the head coach, where he's going to use him in different formations and possibly even similar to Jameson Williams like he used in Detroit, where he was the offensive coordinator. So the final roster, Justin Fields at quarterback. I like the value in the 8th round. Justin Jefferson, I took him 4th overall. I think he's going to be fine with McCarthy at quarterback. Lab McConkey, great rookie season. PPR, big-time player, in my opinion, in the 2nd. Kamara and Montgomery, not great in the backfield, but still guys who were serviceable, especially with the 3 wide receivers I put out there to start the draft. I think they'll be fine with those other players I got in sync with them. Then Ferguson, a tight end, to get him at the 10th round. Even though he's the 3rd option for this Dallas Cowboy team, I think he'll be fine. Tyreek Hill, I think, has a bounce-back season. And like I said, to have him as a 3rd wide receiver, that's a luxury. Joe Mixon coming off the bench, I think he'll be good for week 1, even though right now he's banged up in training camp, and Mixon's been solid throughout his all-NFL career. Rome Odunze could be a breakout year 2 for him. To have him come off the bench as a 4th wide receiver is good depth. Jerry Jeudy, good year last year in his first season in Cleveland, and they're going to be a team trailing early and often, so I think he'll put up numbers. Jerome Ford, he could be the starter for this Brown team easily going into the season, with Jukins off the field issues and Sampson, a young running back as well, and Ford obviously with the experience getting workloads. Then Isaac Orendo, one of the best handcuff running backs in my opinion, get him late in this draft, and we know the injury concerns with Christian McCaffrey. And to round it out with Luther Burden, who I think has good upside, especially in the Ben Johnson system, where last season a lot of guys ate in that line offense and put up numbers. So that was a mock draft and strategy breakdown with overall pick in a draft entering the 2025 fantasy football season.